Also, too, that God teaches us directly through this experience, and then also that we find some ease. We find some ease within inside of our lives through this. And that we come here seeking to change, so we ask God to forgive us and guide us and to set our affairs right. So that's just a basic translation, just to let everybody know. It's kind of how you want to enter into a space. So how's everybody doing today, okay? You good? All right. Alhamdulillah, good. So one of the things that I wanted to point out before I get into the actual lesson is actually how honored you actually are. How honored you actually are. One of the things that you have to understand, and I think that's key to note, right, is that take a look at how right now in this moment you can come in here, you can actually get a little bit of food. There's actually a sister that will take care of the kids. There's actually a whole, little table back there of provisions that you can get. You can get some coffee, you can get some ease to come into this, right? This is actually a beautiful mercy from God, inviting you in to change and to learn. And sometimes we forget about these things, but you got to catch them while you can. That He's not only filled your stomach and put some ease, the cheese on the pizza tastes amazing. I love cheese, so I love to talk about it, right? So the cheese and the sauce and the inviting people sometimes. And sometimes you find some negativity that getting into there, right? But finally, when you get into this place of ease, God has invited you to something great. And so try to, in this moment, whatever I teach today, look beyond me. Actually, look beyond me. Don't look to me like I'm the person. It's coming from a better source. And so anything that good comes from me comes from God, and anything bad that comes from me is my own little idiosyncrasy within inside myself. Okay? But to notice these things, because you came here today, you maybe got invited from an email or for a text, or Jamal reminded you somehow, and forget about the numbers, forget all that, but that's how honored you are. You made it here today to a beautiful circle. Now what's going on in the unseen is a different thing. The angels come. They begin to lower their wings. Tranquility falls here, and a change can possibly happen here. So really, really realize what's going on. It's something really amazing. Don't ever forget it. So, just to give you a little insight. So today I want to talk about 3 things. And one of the scholars, he's called Ahmed Zarruq, said that all goodness actually lies in these 3 things. Right? So I'm just going to go over a couple of verses of the Quran, though. Let me get the translation out, because sometimes my translation is not of the best like I would like to be. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, there's a few verses that I want to go over. They're very short, but it's really impactful if you take a look at them. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والليل إذا يغشى والنهار إذا تجلى وما خلق الذكر وأنثى إن سعيكم لشتى فأما من أعطى واتقى وصدق بالحسنى فسنيسره لليسرى. That's beautiful ayats. So in translation it said like this: by the day as it appears in its glory. So everything that you see within the daylight. If you ever get up for Fajr and you actually go someplace and watch the actual sunrise, especially on the beaches out here. If you go to Newport, I used to do that before when I used to live in Santa Ana. I used to go out to Costa Mesa, go out to the Newport Beach area, and just actually watch it come up on one side, but also too, the setting is amazing too. So that's another thing to watch. But you begin to see actually the movement of life. And if you ever actually go camping, you'll see this interesting thing. When you go far out into camping, like the natural tendencies of the human being. When the sun actually goes down, the whole process of sleep begins. You start to wind down, all your senses begin to go down, and then you go into this process of actually sleep. And you'll see that when the sun comes up, everybody begins to actually wake up. A lot of people don't sleep, in that far. You see this different process in the natural settings, but obviously we're not really in natural settings anymore in our lives. But if you ever get to experience these things, really take heed to it, because there's a lot of things that go on. This process begins to happen within the human, the senses awaken, right? All the glories that come out. All the things that you can see now, you can see all the different natural things, such as like the trees and the sky and all the, if you're on the beach, you can see the sparkles in the sand, and the waves even look different than in the night. Everything changes, right? So in this verse, Allah is actually swearing by this. He's actually, about this thing that I make happen, I swear by this. This is how beautiful it is. And this is so just imagine all the phenomenons going on when the sun rises on one side of the world. He's swearing by all of that and much more. Even the phenomenon of just the sun in and of itself. So he's swearing by that. He's showing you something really, he's talking, so he's bringing you in. Through this verse, he's bringing you into contemplating, but also, too, that he's going to bring you to something. So take a look how it goes. And so by the night as it conceals, so the first one is by the night as it conceals. So the night part, okay? So just what goes on in the night, the process of sleep, going down, beginning to just kind of get into a different zone, even dreaming, right? Even dreaming. Dreaming is another thing. That's a miraculous thing in and of itself. This process that we go to kind of process the day and all those glories that it brings. Then by the day, so we just talked about the day. I'm sorry, I scrolled to the wrong area. And then by the day. And then also too, then he says, وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى, and by the mysteries of the creation of the male and the female. Now it's interesting that in this life of ours, as we go forward in our lives, in our development, right? First we're like kids, then we kind of get to some maturity, when we want to get some education, and finally we want to kind of tie the knot, as they say. And this begins to bring a harmony within inside of our lives. Sometimes this, getting to the status of harmony, right, we have this little friction sometimes with our companions. But we see even still within the differences of men and women, we have this beautiful harmony that begins to happen, this beautiful need actually for each one another. This thing that it brings into your life. And anybody who has a new spouse or been married for a while, even, all the rifts you may get through, especially if you have a sound spouse, you're going to have some debates, you're going to have some arguments, right? But overall, even during the course of the argument or during the course of the friction you may get into, you wouldn't want to lose that person. You still don't want to lose that person, So it's a really beautiful thing. But getting into it again, the mysteries of the male and the female, right? We have a different role. Males have a different role. Females have a different role in life. They produce kids. We can, I'm still trying to figure out what a man can do. I'm not really sure, right? But we bring harmony at some level. We can go out and get food, and it's not that, and women work and all those types of things. We know those types of things. But there's this beautiful mystery of how everything goes together. Everything connects, right? So he swears by that, and all the different, so just in this single verse, too, all the different personalities, all the different emotions in the human being, all the different structures of externally, how we're made up, the different ways our faces look, the different way that we walk, the different way that we talk, even the different ways that we smell. All these things we begin to reflect upon in these verses if you sit and think for a little bit. He's swearing by this, though. Again, God is swearing by this. Inna sayakum lashata, and the goals that you have differ. One common thing that happens inside of relationships, right? Sometimes the man is not ready to have a child, but the woman has it's time to have kids, right? We kind of want to, we like to go on a vacation a little bit more. We don't want to be held down. But the woman wants to have kids. That's just one thing. Or there's different things that, goals that we have in mind. There's a certain goal sometimes that we have for when we're 30 or when we're 20 or when we're 25 or whenever. And there's certain particular occupations sometimes that we want to have. Sometimes, I may want to be a doctor, she may want to be a lawyer. I may want to be a mechanic and he may want to be an engineer. Some people like to just study people. Some people just like to think about scientific things. Some people like to be philosophers. Some people love to be on the computer and do all types of IT things. I can't stand it. But there's this difference in this diverse spectrum of things in our lives and in this world. And the more that we bring them together, the more that we become a community, the more beauty that comes out of things, right? But God is swearing by this and pointing us to these things about how magnificent what he's about to talk about now is. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى. And so now he gives some things to think about again, but not just think about, but also some things that you can do. And he says, as for the one who gives and is conscious of God, وَصَدَقَ بِالْحُسْنَى, and he, in all sincerity, testifies to the best, which is Islam. فَسَنُيَسِرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. Then the path will be made easy for him or her. It doesn't, him or her, it doesn't matter. So we see a couple things from this. God swears by all these amazing things in the world and then gives us some instruction. And as for the one who gives out and is conscious, and confirms the truth or confirms the best of things, meaning Islam, then the path of life, this path will be made easy for him. Now, it doesn't mean that there's not constriction, doesn't mean that there's not test, it doesn't mean that there's not rough parts of the road. But the beautiful answers to the questions are there. But you have to open your heart. And so this is the talk that we're going to get into today. Is the three things that all goodness lies in. Again, the three things that all goodness lies in, and this comes from a book that's actually translated now, or not a book that's translated, I'm sorry, but there's actually a talk given online from Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, and it's called The Poor Man's Assistance. And you can go through this. It's a very long text. Well, the text isn't that long, but the commentary actually on the text is long by him. It's about 18 discs. I went over it a long time ago and continuously go back and forth with it. But there's a section in there that he writes, the three things that all goodness lies in. And I just wanted to introduce these verses because the command or the request from God to give out is something that's amazing, and to be conscious. And so if we're conscious of these three things and we give out of ourselves for these three things, the fruits that the benefit that you'll get from from your labor will be amazing. And they have to do with internal things. The biggest thing is in Islam is the internal reality or your internal disposition. This will give life to your actual acts of worship. This will give life to a lot of different things. To make your prayer meaningful, to make all these things. But there's three things that all goodness lies in. All right? So, number one, the first thing that goodness lies in, or I should say one of the first things to know, that the way that you can extract greatness and beauty and all the things that we can be synonymous with goodness is, number one, is to seek the help of Allah, but there's a condition. Does anybody know what the condition is? To seek the help of Allah. So what's one of the conditions, though? He puts it in a very beautiful way, but I'm just going to be very simple with it. Does anybody know? Come on, just bring something to me. I got to have an interactive class. Okay, intention, that's kind of there. If we're seeking the help, we're already in the intention. Submission, okay. Yeah, we're getting a little close. We do our part. Like we ask for guidance, but we still do our part. That's one, but we're still in the internal. We're still in the internal, though. You're coming close, guys, huh? Sincerity, that's almost there. Huh? Okay. Humility. So one of the things about humility is actually you just completely drop yourself, right? I give you an example. Like if you're going to a class, right? If I walk into that class thinking that I already know it all, I won't even benefit maybe. I'll come in and I'll just kind of be up in my mind somewhere, and I'll be thinking, oh, what he's talking about, I've heard it before. I know this. I studied the text myself. I did this before. And so when you come to God like that, the one who has actually created that thought even within you, and you come already choosing from that part of creation, meaning like, even internally inside of us, everybody has to know, you have choices, right? And so those choices come. You can either choose from a low realm or a high realm of things. So that it even goes in your thought process. You can choose to either open your heart, or you can choose to close it off. That's your choice. You actually have that ability. You have that ability to open your mind up and say, okay, I'm actually going to listen to the person. And not just that I'm going to listen like I hear what you're saying, but I feel what you're saying. I understand deeply what you're saying. Right? And so now when we approach God, we want to be completely open. Yeah, Allah, I actually don't know anything. Because in reality, you don't. He's given you knowledge. You don't have any knowledge of your own. Yeah, Allah, I really don't understand the situation, right? Because sometimes we go into situations in our life where we pretend to understand. Like our kid comes to us, right? And he's a teenager now, and, he's starting to, or she's starting to act a certain way, right? Or get, and you don't know. Say, I give you an example, right? Many times, especially when I was in Connecticut and I was doing youth counseling and all these different types of things, a lot of times there was many immigrants in the community. They had come from either Jordan, or they had come from Bangladesh, or they had come from India. There was different places that they came from. And they weren't understanding what was going on with their kids because, why? They're not from the culture. They don't know what their kids are exposed to. They don't understand it. They said, Brother Jesse, I don't really understand what's going on with them because you don't understand the culture. So you're not going to understand completely what's going on because something different's turning within them. Like one great man that I met over there, he said, and he was from Pakistan originally, and he said, listen, guys, our kids are different. They don't want biryani, they want pasta. They're different. Meaning that he just was trying to say that they're different now. This is something different, so you have to look at things a little bit differently. You can't just look at it from that perspective anymore, and you have to completely embrace where you're at to understand it, right? But this is getting back to it again, is opening yourself up to Allah and asking for the help. And understanding also too, with inside of that, another note to make in that is that whatever you may find in your life, Allah has put it there. Meaning that even if He's allowed it to come into your life because of your choice, you asked for it, He gave it to you, but there's still, even if it feels really constricted and nasty, there's still a little bit of light to make it cleared up. He does that. That's the beautiful thing about God, is that no matter what, even with the bad choices that you make, He doesn't make things purely evil. He puts a little bit of light in for you can get out. And it's a beautiful test because even in the Quranic verses state very clearly, I don't have the slide, but the Quranic verses state very clearly that a person, that He says that Allah may erase all your bad deeds. Allah may change your bad deeds into good deeds. Now how does that happen? Allah may change your bad deeds into good deeds. How does that actually happen? Well, because your bad deeds are forgiven, right? And then that knowledge and understanding that you get, you actually have something within you to help change other people, to help change your situations. And then Allah erases that and does you nothing but good deeds. This happens in our lives, so it's a very interesting thing. So, but first and foremost, coming to God with complete submission and humility. Complete submission and humility. And knowing, this is still part of number one, so there's coming with humility, and also to inside of it, knowing or holding on to His help, and knowing that He'll never turn away from you. Knowing that He'll never turn away from you. No matter where you may find yourself in your life, He will never turn away from you. Never. No matter what the atrocity may have been, no matter what the hurt may have been, He will never turn away. He'll never turn away. So it's a beautiful thing. So that's number one, is coming with humility. Number two, does anybody think they know what number two is? A couple people said it. A couple people said it. A couple people said, you guys said it. Close. Somebody said it. I think it was on this side of the room. Oh, in Arabic it's ikhlas. Ikhlas. Sincerity. Sincerity. So not just sincerity, but renewing your sincerity. Renewing your sincerity. Right? Like, I'll give you an example. When it's time for Asr, if we leave here, inshallah ta'ala, how sincere is your movement from there to there? How sincere is it? Is it just formal? Is it just that we just, Assalamu alaikum, it was great. Yeah, it was great pizza, mashallah. No, are we actually moving into that space with our hearts? Are we moving into that space with our hearts? Are we moving in there knowing that the angels are there? Are we knowing that there's a portal there, right, that we can actually be forgiven completely? It's like, the Prophet ﷺ was asked by the companions, right? They said, Ya Rasulullah, does a man, or a person go into prayer and come out sinless? And he gave an analogy, a beautiful analogy. He said, if you were have a river outside of your house, and a person was to walk in there with dirt on them, and the river, kind of washes over them and walk out, would they have dirt on them anymore? No. So that's what's there. That's what's there. There's amazing things there. It's endless of what can happen there. And for people who really search and find it there, you'll understand what I'm meaning. So, alhamdulillah, But renewing one's sincerity, right? And then he puts another condition inside of this. So this is the key to note too. And centering your spiritual aspirations. All right? So what do I mean by that? Renewing your sincerity around centering your spiritual aspirations. So what do I mean by that? That's a good question. What's meant by that is that a lot of times we'll find, especially for me, I remember as a new Muslim, right? I start reading a little bit about Islam and I want to do everything. I want to memorize the Quran. I want to go learn all the hadith that I can. I want to do Arabic this day. I want to do everything all in one shot. You know, I want to become the scholar overnight, right? I want to become super Muslim by the next day. I want to give all the charity in the world, do this. I want to be in Morocco, Pakistan, here, back in America, and make a living, raise a kid. I want to do everything, right? But you have to center yourself around a few different things, or just begin to center yourself around one thing and get to a stage of completion with it. And get to a stage of completion with it. And once you get to a stage of completion with it, then what ends up happening is you begin to develop other capabilities to move on to those things in a complete way. And you'll find actually a lot of times through our development in our faith that the main things that you learn in the beginning, like belief in Allah, belief in the books, the prophets, the angels, the books, the prophets, the last day, and also to destiny, just these main core base principles, and then beginning to perfect your consciousness of that in your life is going to be more than enough. It's actually going to lead you to all those other things, and you'll have a lot of understanding even higher sometimes than the person who is just intellectual in their scholarship. Because the way that faith is really experienced is through the modes of character. That's why the Prophet ﷺ says in a beautiful hadith that I have not been sent except to perfect the noble qualities of character. Okay? Anything else is extra. But that's where you're really found. The people who were the best of people and the people that are written in the books of history are the ones with the best character. You know? I was actually reading a quote. I forgot what it was on the paper. I think it's from Martin Luther King Jr. He said that the test of a human being is not in the times of ease, but it's in the times of adversity. Right? And it's very loose. I mean, it's obvious. It's more detailed than that. But that's the reality. Is how is your character overall? It's very easy in times of ease, but how do you handle the waves of life? Right? These character. Now, how does it brings out these beautiful things? But again, renewing your sincerity. Renewing your sincerity and beginning to center your spiritual aspirations. So, you may have the aspiration, or hopefully everybody, maybe our aspiration for Ramadan is, right, that we're going to attend Taraweeh as much as possible and be present as much as possible, right? So, how will we begin to do that? Just for one example. Maybe when we break fast, we don't have the pizza. We don't have the pizza. We say, Jamal, can you maybe get us some lentils and a little bit of salad? Something light, right? Or, when we want to actually stay up for the lecture, we only eat one plate of mosque Chinese food to try to understand about what happened in China with Islam, right? But just these different things. You begin to make practical steps to bring these things into your life. That I want to get up and make Fajr tomorrow, right? I really actually want to do. I've been missing it. I've been oversleeping it. Well, maybe we don't need to watch Netflix all night, right? What I think there's a special, some of my friends keep telling me. I haven't seen it. It's, I think it's about the Ottoman Empire that's on Netflix. I forgot the name of it, but it's like what is it called? Okay, there you go. See, I don't know it, but maybe you're binge watching that too late, right? And you're thinking, alhamdulillah, I'm learning about Islam though, and we still got to get the prayer in though. We got to get the prayer in if we want to extract the best blessings out of the day, right? So, again, renewing your sincerity. But one of the great things about that is that you'll find new things, right? One of the beautiful, we recite the Fatiha 17 times a day at least. And if you begin to do that, you're renewing something, and you're pulling even more out. So as you begin to renew your sincerity, renew your faith, renew your position in things, it brings out more. You begin to actually renew it. And you have to go through this this is, like I said, again, it's experiential. You actually have to do it. This isn't something that you're going to be able to comprehend. Just if you write these things down, you have to actually do it, and then you'll understand it. All right, so the last thing before we get into Q&A, the last thing, does anybody know what the last thing is? So again, first we have what? What's number one? Humility, right? So for the help of Allah, remember, the help of Allah with humility, with submission. He actually says, on the carpet spread of poverty. Okay, on the carpet spread of poverty. Not mean that we're poor, like, you know what I mean? But coming just completely like, this is when we make dua like this, that's why. You come in this to receive, and understand that you're only receiving, and you're really not giving anything. That's the deeper, you're really not giving anything. Everything's given to us. It's only being asked of us to utilize it properly. That's it. Just do the best and utilize it properly. That's all God is asking for. Just for a short time, too. You're going to make some mistakes? I got you. Don't worry, there's going to be ways out. You know, God is doing a beautiful thing for us. So, what's the last one, though? Again. Tawakkul, dependency? Almost a little bit there. Be thankful? It's close. Himma. Himma, that's exactly. Resolution. So first, coming with humility, renewing our sincerity. Look what's going on internally. And then making that resolve. That energetic resolve. That's what like himma is. Actually make an energetic resolve to go forward now. So take a look at the process again. First, Allah. I'm coming sincere, completely dropping yourself, not coming with any ego, not coming with anything. And now making the resolve. The resolve to move forward in a righteous way. They say the best righteousness is what is done quickly. The best righteousness is what is done quickly. Meaning that you don't wait around. That you don't wait. Like, I'll give you an example. Our beloved Prophet, peace be upon him, if something was asked of him, if charity was asked of him, right away. At some level. Doesn't mean that you have to give the whole house. But he was even of that status that he would give until the person was completely satisfied. If there was a person that came to his house and wanted food, he never turned them away. If somebody needed to talk about something, he would turn towards them completely and give them the complete attention. Complete attention. Wouldn't even just, it's like sometimes we're on the phone, right? And we're talking to somebody, but we're cooking and we're doing all these types of things. And, I'll call you back in a little bit. And we're doing multitasking. He would give his complete attention. Give his complete energy to that person. Right? The Prophet, peace be upon him, if something was actually happening in the actual town, he was the first to go out to it. They would notice. They heard a huge bang, like almost an explosion in Medina. And all the companions had come out to kind of see what had happened. And he already came back and said, don't worry, I took care of it. I took care of it. Go back in your homes. I took care of it already. He was the first to respond. Right? So they said the best righteousness is done quickly. But again, for us, a lot of times, especially as new Muslims, early on, especially when we take our shahada, not too long after that, we have this great burst of energy to do things. One of the things, if you still have a little bit of it burning, because I know some of you have been Muslim a little while now, try to capture it and begin to work on it and make little strides and little steps to maintain just a little bit and develop. So first, I'm just going to do my 5 prayers on time and to the best way that I can do them. I'm going to make sure that I'm present in my wudu, that I'm actually, in my mind that all my sins are dropping off of me and I'm going into this thing new. I'm going to understand what I'm saying. What does it mean to me? And if it doesn't mean anything to me, I'm going to research about it. I'm going to try to experience it in my life. I'm going to try to open up my heart, even if these things aren't making sense to me at the moment. I know that they will. God will bring it to me. This is the renewing of sincerity and opening yourself up. That's a part of it. Right? So these are the small steps. No matter how I may feel in the morning, I'm going to get up. Even if I got to roll myself out of bed, get the cold water on me, I'm going to try to do that tomorrow. I'm going to try my best to prepare myself for Ramadan. I'm going to start now. And I'm going to try maybe fast once a month. Or I'm going to cut down my food. I'm going to eat lighter. I'm going to lose some weight so that I'm prepared for it. One of the interesting things that I see a lot of times, because I go to the prisons and teach quite a bit, a lot of the guys in jail, and the sisters too, they do these things. Because they actually have the time mentally, right? We have a lot of space within our mental that's taken up by other things. But sometimes we need to free ourselves and think about these important things. The beautiful thing about all the obligations that Islam, and why being resolute is so important, all the things that Islam is asking of you will put everything in your life into organization. It will organize it for you. The more that you let it into your life, especially internally, it will organize everything for you. You'll find that. You'll find a lot of that. If you do it well, I'm telling you Allah will even send people into your life to help you on that. He will. When you get off track, He'll remind you. Don't think that, when you're wasting your time on the phone, right? And you're like, doing something and maybe looking at stuff that's just not the greatest to be looking at. And all of a sudden somebody calls you. Oh, and it's maybe the sister from the masjid. Oh man, I was just watching this TV show. And these are reasons. These are little signs from Allah. These are little beautiful signs from Allah. But again, number one, coming with humility, coming with softness of the heart, complete submission to Allah, right? We talked about humility though. Right? Number two, again, what is number two? Sincerity, right? But also too, with inside of that sincerity, you have to begin to do what? Bring all your spiritual aspirations in. Kind of center them. Don't just let them all go all over the place. You got to center them. Take one step at a time. Number three is resolution. Maintaining resolution. Maintaining it. Find those things that help drive you. Find those things that help you to be a little less sleepy. If you have a real problem, I think one of the scholars said this. If you have a real problem in your life and you're not getting up for tahajjud, it's not really a problem then. It's very interesting, night prayer. So it's just a concept meaning that if you're worried that much, it will keep you up at night to really find the solution. And you see this when we worry about things, right? So, but maintaining the resolution. If you want to do night prayers, do what you need to maintain that resolution to get to that goal. You'll find it. If you are sincere about it, like we said in the second step, and you come humbly to Allah, you'll find it. You'll come down to that. If you do those first two steps, Allah will begin to give you that himmah. And I conclude on this. If you watch during Ramadan, people get the himmah anyways. People get the himmah anyways. This is the beautiful gift. Even if they don't come, it comes down because that mercy comes. And then all of a sudden these people are in here that you've never seen in the masjid in the longest time, and people that weren't really doing the right things, and you might even been there at some point, but Allah has put the mercy in and let everybody come in, and the gates of Jannah are open. The gates of mercy are wide open. Okay? So you see these things. These are real. What I'm telling you is real. I've most of the stuff that I talk about up here, tried and tested. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different things. So alhamdulillah. So are there any questions to any of the things that I said before we conclude? No questions at all. There's got to be some questions, right? Just one? No? Okay, so another thing. This is the homework assignment for next time. This is something that I want you to test out. This is the homework assignment for next time. Okay, because so I'll talk a little bit more for about another 2 minutes. Last time I talked about 5 things that hinder you from truth. 5 things. I don't know if anybody remembers. You were here, you should remember. But 5 things that hinder you from truth, okay? So basically what they were was basically like an immature soul or immature state, lower desires, worldly pursuits, also to pre-Islamic ways of being or pre-Islamic culturalistic things or things that are outside of the Islamic context that we inherit in our lives sometimes, and also to ignorance. The cure for them, again, was to, number 1, understand your belief and the obligations of like prayer, work on your outward sins, and then begin to turn inwardly to your inward sins. Right? So that's what we talked about last time. Now we're talking about the inward resolve. And so one of the things I want you to do is this. This month is pretty much over. Rabiul Awwal is a month that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was born in. Now one of the obligations in our prayer is to say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, right? So it's actually a dhikr. It's actually a thing that we're encouraged to do, and there's a Quranic ayat that says, verily Allah and His angels do prayers upon the Prophet. O you who believe, do prayers upon the Prophet in the best of ways, right? So one of the things that I want you to do is look at Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, or any of the forms, and begin to actually practice to do that. This is something that Allah has prescribed us to do. And then read about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'm telling you this, take this as an experiment. Then read about him. And see how this changes your heart towards him. This is something that is actually recommended by all of our scholars to begin to do this practice. And then read about him. This is a beautiful gift from God. It opens up your heart to a lot of love. So that's the homework, is to obviously implement this and do that. And also, to another thing that I would recommend anybody to go to CIU and take the actual History 101, which is the life of the Prophet Muhammad, if you haven't done that. Also, to read different things online and those types of things. Because one of the greatest things that you're going to have or experience, or the template of how you begin to mold your life, especially as for new Muslims, is by learning about our Prophet, peace be upon him. You have to learn about him. He's going to guide us, don't worry. His way will guide us, so we'll be okay. Are there any questions now? MashaAllah. Okay, alhamdulillah. So, again, number 1, humility. Number 2, sincerity, bring the spiritual aspirations together. And then the last one is resolution, energetic, or himma. Okay? That's it. This is the time, inshallah. All right, so alhamdulillah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you. Alhamdulillah, Allah has, again, remember, Allah has honored you. You know, you were honored to come here today. No matter what the numbers may be, He fed you. He got people's hearts to come together to put those things together every single week, to bring you here to learn, to develop, to grow, to bring the best out of yourself. So leave here today, inshallah ta'ala, and if you want to thank me, then you can do that. That's what we could do. If you truly want to thank me today, because everybody comes up, thank you very much. If you want to thank me, then do that. All right? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم أتينا في الدنيا حسنات وفي الآخرات حسنات وقنا عذاب النار اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة اللهم أجرنا من النار اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة اللهم أجرنا من النار والحمد لله رب العالمين نصر من الله وفتح قريب وبشر المؤمنين هو الأول والآخر وظاهر وباطن وهو بكل شيء عليم ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير ونعم المولى ونعم النصير غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم آمين.
All right, thank you so much, Brother Jesse. I appreciate it. Hang tight for a minute, yeah? Don't leave quite yet, if you don't mind. Don't leave the building. You're still in the house, inshallah. No worries. So we want to thank Brother Jesse. For those of you, if you're not familiar with Brother Jesse, mashallah, he converted to Islam a number of years ago. He studied. He's one of our students. I think just about finished, right, at California Islamic University, or just about. Alhamdulillah. All thanks and praise to Allah. So he's part of our IOC community here. So we thank him for taking time out. A few things. Number one, just wanted to update you guys regarding our progress yesterday about those gift boxes. Some of you guys have heard this message we've been kind of sending out. So as you know, in Ramadan, which is the 9th month of the Islamic lunar calendar, we make these gift boxes with like dates and almonds and apricots, etc., and a flyer about Ramadan to educate specifically non-Muslim family members, co-workers, neighbors about Ramadan and Islam, right? And it was amazing. We made 1,000 of these boxes. They sold out, meaning we had a lot of support from the community. So we wanted to put a spin on it, and we wanted to do one for Jesus, or Isa alayhi salam, being that the holiday time and Christmas is right around the corner. We made a specific flyer catered towards our belief as Muslims of Jesus, peace be upon him, and a small message about Islam. So yesterday we were very thankful. We had a number of volunteers that came out to help out, and we made 500 of these boxes, which is amazing, right? It took us almost all day. For those that still made it back today, may Allah bless you all. But I really thank you for your support. Those that had the intention of wanting to come as well and supporting, may Allah bless you as well. But I encourage you again, please do your best. When we send these messages out, these emails, these WhatsApp reminders, try to take part. If you're in a position to help and volunteer, please do so. Be part and parcel of the community. That's kind of like we talked about in graduation as well. which was last week. So I want to thank you guys for that as well. Secondly, we have a lot of food and drinks in the back, so please, it would honor me and everyone here on your way out. If you want to make a plate and take a drink with you as well, just make sure you guys recycle, please. So we have a little. I didn't bring it inside here. My apologies, but it's right outside the recycling bin. If you guys can put it in there, that'll be great. Thirdly, I just wanted to introduce 2 new community members here to our IOC community. One, we have Sister Vanessa here. If you could just raise your hand real quick. And we have Sister Fatima as well. Raise your hand. They're joining us here. I think Sister Vanessa, this is her second time, but she's new to our IOC community. And for Sister Fatima, this will be her first time here in the masjid, or at IOC for our new Muslim class. So sisters, make sure to introduce yourself to them. And having said that, I think that's about everything. Final reminder about California Islamic University, or CIU. If I'm not mistaken, the new classes are out for the new quarter. So I would highly encourage you to go ahead and register for a class or 2 that they're offering as soon as possible. Don't let the financial, don't let that stop you, meaning the fee that they have. If for some reason you or someone that you know can't afford it, they always have financial assistance. They don't turn anybody down. So just make sure you go ahead and do that. The flyers are there. They're outside on the shelf. You can grab those blue flyers. It's about California Islamic University. And having said that, any questions for me before we conclude? Yes? They have, that's a very good, good reminder. So they have, we have a class here on the basics, meaning how to learn how to read the Quran. But regarding hifz and memorization, they have that here as well in an advanced class. Over there at CIU, I think they have tafsir, or which is the explanation of the Quran and certain verses of the Quran. But as far as memorization there, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think they have that, but we have it here. We have IQ, Institute of Quran here, a whole program that you can start from the basics of how just to read to all the way to memorizing Quran as well. So if anybody's interested in that, let me know, especially for our new Muslim family members. If you want to learn how to read the Quran in the Arabic language, starting off from the basics, starting from 0, please let me know. We have a class here every Sunday, and I think every Wednesday as well. So we teamed up with IQ, Institute of Quran, and they're going to help us with this. And they've already started. Anybody still registered or going for that right now? Okay, still going? Good, inshallah. So so let me know. Any other questions? Everyone's good? So I'm assuming we can leave the tables and chairs. So we will go ahead and leave the tables and chairs, but you guys have a safe trip back home. Just make sure you clean up after yourselves, and we'll see you guys on Friday at 6:30 for coffee with the Sheikh, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.